When you start on a path of consciously relating and really understanding it, it feels really scary because what that way of living asks of you is to take responsibility, knowing that I always can choose to look at why I've brought this into my life is the most empowering experience.
Hi everyone, welcome to Go In Show. My name is Stant. I'm your host, and today we would like to welcome our special guest here, Carrie, Jerislo. Welcome to the house. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Nim, for having me.
I'm super excited. It's such a beautiful flower behind you.
Thank you. One of my photographs.
Yeah, right? Really? That's cool. Well, Carrie, can you share with us a little bit about yourself, of what you do, and how can you help people?
Sure. Well, I am a best-selling author, relationship coach, and soulmate expert. I'm also an intuitive and an energy healer, and I help people go from heartbreak to soulmate by teaching them the secrets to finding and maintaining fulfilling conscious relationships. I love working with relationships because we are relating to everyone in every different aspect of our lives, whether it's intimate, business, and the most important relating, which is with ourselves. So I love this topic because I feel like if we learn how to be in relationship consciously, it will serve our entire lives.
And you said you wrote the book. Can you share with us a little bit about your book?
Yes, I have it. I wrote Why Do They Always Break Up With Me?
Wow.
Yeah, that was the question I asked myself for many years. So all of my intimate relationships ended in breakup. And I even was married and divorced. And at that point, I just knew I had to figure out why. So I'd been on a self journey exploration with lots of different levels. And I had learned a lot about relationships. But when I finally got married and then divorced, I knew that there was more to learn. And so I really dug into understanding what was underneath it all, which centered really around my parents' divorce and unconsciously blaming my father for the experience of the divorce and blaming him really for all of the failed relationships. So that's a very unconscious way of relating. When I took the blame off of him and really cleared energetically, emotionally, mentally, a lot of the beliefs that I had from 12 years old up to 36, everything shifted for me, everything. In 3 months of really looking at things, working with someone, an energy healer and a coach, everything was cleared and I started creating very different relationships in my life. Relationships that were built on respect and communication, built on the idea of taking ownership for what I go through. Instead of asking the other person to change, if it upsets me, I look at what's going on within me. And this has changed every relationship in my life.
You know, I just listened. This is like such a topic. I just listened to Dr. Joe Vitale. His book is The Miracle. And he talked about I'm not quite sure if I can say the name right, Hawaiian healing method called Halaponopo.
Is the Ho'oponopono?
Yeah, something like that, like clearing the consciousness inside you instead of, fixing someone else.
Absolutely. It is. When you start on a path of consciously relating and really understanding it, it feels really scary because what that way of living asks of you is to take responsibility for your stuff. Even on a three-dimensional physical, mental approach, I didn't have anything to do with my parents' divorce. However, if I'm looking at myself as a spiritual being on a path of evolvement,
Right.
then I look at how was that serving me in my life, and taking responsibility for it, knowing that I always can choose to look at why I've brought this into my life is the most empowering experience. So it's scary in the beginning, but it becomes incredibly empowering because I know that everything and every challenge that I bring into my life is there for really important reason.
So I'm trying to connect the dot here, Carrie. So as a child, when you were young, you saw your parent and they didn't have a good relationship, and finally they divorced. And you surround yourself with their energy. So yourself absorb the energy from them unconsciously, right? But then you carry on probably for many years, and now and then it affects your own marriage. So
Yes.
so yes, we have nothing to do with the parent, but how can we clear the energy that we have, that we absorb from our ancestor, basically, right?
Absolutely. Well, okay, so I saw my father break up with my mother. So
Okay.
that was why I just had a belief then that men break up with women, right? And so that was a belief that, and as an intuitive, I see those beliefs sit in your cells. We have a cellular memory. And so I created that over and over. Now, when I got to the point of understanding that that was their experience, and it also was very important for my path. So for my path, how that helped me was that put me on a path of evolvement, of searching and seeking. It made me an independent woman because I watched my mother, who had no job, have to, struggle to find, like, how was she going to support her family. I made a real big declaration to the universe that I was never going to let a man support me. So at that point, I became very independent. I moved away right after I graduated high school. I moved to New York City. I got into the arts and was a director and a casting director. And just all of that was taught me and served me because it made me independent. It made me follow my passions. And it put me on the path of where I am right now, that I actually wrote this book. So it really did serve me. And that's when I owned it and became grateful for it. I would never change what happened with my parents. It made me who I am today.
Right. And how is it had something to do with your partner? Like we all carry the story from our parent, right? We all have the thing that we don't like about our parent, about our childhood, about how we grow up. And then, yes, it's affect our marriage, it's affect the way we raise the kids. But, when you step away, step out of your marriage, do you feel like part of that is from him as well, or just like you just like it's all on me, I'm the one who have to clear up my story?
I actually believe in radical responsibility and that it is all me to clear up. Because once I released the beliefs that men break up with me, was just a belief that I had. And I work with a modality called theta healing, which is about deleting and replacing beliefs
Right.
energetically. And so that was the modality that someone did with me that cleared those beliefs. And so they are not in me anymore.
Uh-huh.
And so after I did that, I actually met my current husband. We've been together for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And my relationship, and the other thing was that I healed my relationship with my father. Like, we were very strained since the divorce, but we came to, because I had just an open conversation with him, because I had kind of cleared a lot of those beliefs that he did this to me. Okay, that was like a blame. I'm putting my problems.
You play the
on him.
victim role.
Exactly. So we had a beautiful discussion right at the time of my divorce, and he said things to me because I cleared all that stuff. He said things to me I always wanted him to. He explained where he was at the time of that divorce and how he didn't know how to communicate because he never learned it from his parents. And also for me going through a marriage and understanding, just having more perspective, that there are two people in a marriage, it just really allowed this blossoming of understanding and forgiveness between he and I.
Did your ex-husband understand that you want to walk away because of yourself? Because you need to take care of yourself?
My ex-husband walked away from me.
Oh.
He was the one that left, right?
I see.
And after that as well, he and I became very good friends. He was one of I consider him my soulmate. Like, able to come to that after the healing that I did within myself. All came from me.
So how do you heal yourself? What's the process that, if you can share with our audience of how can you use the conscious relationship to heal yourself?
Well, the first step that I would say is, this is how I lead my clients really through it. And I think when you're at a place where you've got to figure it out, like I've had this happen a million times and I'm done with this story. I think it's important to work with someone. I had to work with someone because we'll hide from our unconscious beliefs, and our mind will do like somersaults and everything to keep us in a place of familiarity. That our bodies, our minds like familiar, right? So when we start to push and question, and we get uncomfortable, and uncomfortable is really important. So first, I had to work with someone. That's what I recommend. But if you were starting it on your own, what I would say is be very diligent and come up with a self-care practice. Because in that self-care practice, you begin to know you. And that's the first relationship that has to be cultivated, is the relationship with yourself, is finding acceptance with yourself, loving yourself. Even all the icky, messy parts that we can't expect someone else to love us if we don't love ourselves.
Yes.
And so really coming to that place. And for me, it started with a self-care practice.
Okay.
It started with quieting my mind, whether through a walk, sweeping. Like sweeping for me is a really great self-care act because it's almost, symbolic of just like sweeping the dust. But
can you come to my house?
That way. Huh?
Can you come to my house and you can do your self-care at my house? Okay, so the first step is to do some self-care. What's the second step?
So the second step is getting to know yourself. What are your triggers? If someone says something to you, we can feel it in our body. For me, I feel it in my gut. My stomach, when I get triggered, my stomach will scream at me and say, "You've gotten triggered. It's time to look inward." And so being aware and attentive of what's going on in your body. And when you feel triggered, instead of going for the attack or withdrawing, whatever your defense mechanism is, you actually go inward with yourself.
How to go inward with yourself?
How to go? There's lots of different ways.
Sure.
Meditation is great. I do yoga. Yoga is the way that I start my yoga with a question to the universe or to God or to spirit, whatever you want to say, is what am I struggling with? What is this really about? And then I let go of the question and start my yoga practice. And it always, because I am diligent of my self-care practice and I do it every day, it is non-negotiable that I wait for those answers to come in. Again, this is where, when someone is new on this path, I recommend going to a coach, going to someone who can ask you those questions to be able to get them out.
We'll go to the coach. What kind of coach is that?
Everyone will go to someone that they resonate with. Well, that's the first thing. I say really go with someone that you resonate with because it depends on what you're dealing with. So I went to a lot of different therapists. I went to talk therapists, and that never got it for me.
Yeah.
But I am an energetic being, and that has always gotten it for me. Okay? So to me, when I went through my divorce, one of my very good friends came to me serendipitously and said, "Here's two people. Which do you resonate with?" And just there was one and that was the energy healer and the coach that I went to. I just felt like that was the person. So I say again, you put it out to the universe, and the universe will answer. Help me find the perfect person to talk with, to be able to go through this that I feel safe with. That's the biggest thing, because when you are going deep into these areas, the importance to feel safe, that's what's going to let you, really, really go into all of those little nooks and crannies of your psyche.
So we take care of ourselves, we do some self-care, we know what trigger us. What else? Are there anything else?
Yeah, so when we are aware of our triggers, I really talk about having a gratitude practice.
Right.
Gratitude will help us shift from just being like, I have this awareness of where I'm triggered. So where do I go from here? So I go to a blanket gratitude. I just say, thank you. This is uncomfortable. I know this is uncomfortable, but I know this is serving me. I may not know how. I may not know why. I may never know that, but I'm going to sit in gratitude for this experience, because this is an opportunity to help me heal and catapult me, whether business or personally. This feeling of uncomfortable is what I need to go through to get to the other side. So gratitude.
I love it. So I'm just gonna pause right here. I don't want you to give us too many steps, because these 3 steps is important to start, right? Because if our audience here who watching and listening, if they don't start, basically don't move to the 4th step. So I'm gonna recap again. The first step is to take care of yourself. Do some self-care. It can be go for a walk, in the park, in the forest, or take some bath, or sweep the floor, right? Quiet your mind, and then understand what is trigger you. And find someone to talk to, find some mentor, find some coach who energetically related to you, and or you feel resonant about, right? And then the last one is, tell me, what is the last one?
Gratitude.
The gratitude. Write the gratitude journal. Think gratitude, right? Do gratitude. Out of that is really transforming, right?
Absolutely. And the only last thing that I would say is that we are taught that when someone upsets us, it's them.
Yeah.
So it's just a perspective shift to just say, just try it. It's not them. What am I learning from this? It's not what did I do to cause this? It's what am I learning? Why has this come into my life? And that can come into looking at that you're triggered. That's all a part of that process.
It is very hard thing to do, right? When someone do something to you, instead, you want to point a finger and say, like, it's your fault, right?
It's the easiest thing.
What am I learning from this? Okay, Carrie, this is challenging, but that's a good challenge.
It is. And you know what? I will tell you that it is challenging at first, but if you commit to it now, because I've been on this path for 15 years, it is an automatic. It's an automatic. Something challenging, I feel it in my body. I go to my self-care and I go to gratitude. It's like it becomes that automatic. And I will just say that when you blame someone else, you disempower yourself. You are then a victim to everything. When you take it on and you learn the lesson, it is so empowering.
I love it. I love it. So what is the exciting new project that you're doing right now, Carrie?
Yeah. So I am currently co-authoring my 2nd book about a new paradigm of education. I have 2 young kids, and I am passionate about setting our children up to succeed, not only just in what they do, but in who they are, and believing in who they are and loving who they are. So that's that. And I'm also working on a fiction novel as well. That's already in the first draft, and I'm working on editing that. And then lots of different other programs, relationship programs that I have coming down the line.
So share with us how we can find you.
Yeah, I would love to connect with everyone. You can find me on my website, carriejeroslow.com, and you can get to all my social media links from there. I'd love to, I do 3 times a week on Instagram, and different themes every month. All of this, self-care, gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance. You'll learn a lot if you follow me on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, everybody who listen to this and who watch this video recording, we record ahead of time, but you can test if this is working, right? All the 3 simple steps that Carrie shared was test it. Test it if it's working. If it's working, put in the chat and share your experience with us. If not, then we'll find the other way to work on it.
Yeah, and please reach out to me. I'd love to help you on your path. For sure.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for being with us today. I'm so grateful for you, and looking forward to have you back on the show again.
Thank you so much for having me, Nam.
Thank you.
Thank you.